What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode. Cheers. Let me get some water in here because this is gonna be a good one. All right. So you guys know this channel here is positivity. It's about pushing forward. I really don't like to spread like any negativity or bash on people just because I have a platform. I'm never gonna do that. So with that being said, with the story that I'm about to tell, I'm not going to give you guys any names of the foundations that did this because I don't want them to get hit up by all of you guys, and I don't want to cause any drama. Yeah. With that being said, I want to say about a month ago, we just bought this house about a year and some change now. And the house is not ADA compliant, which is fine. We knew that buying this home. But I almost slipped and fell in the shower. When I take a shower, I'm standing on one leg and then that's it. And our shower is kind of slippery. And so I put on social media, if you guys know anybody that does work on homes around my area, and if they are VA approved, because I have what is called an SAH grant, SHA, Special House Adapting grant, which gives me money to renovate the home and get it to an ADA compliant or to my needs. But they have to be approved by the VA because they pay them out. I don't see any of that money. It's whatever. Anyway, so I had so many people hit me up and were like, hey, why don't you just like hit up some of these nonprofits and have them build you a house and do this and do that. And that's what this episode is about. We're going to go down a rabbit hole of what happened to me with some of these foundations. It wasn't just one, it was 2 or 3 of them. I can't remember. But with that being said, there is a lot of foundations out there that build homes for our vets. And first of all, let me just start off by saying, like, no one ever has to build me a home just because I was injured overseas. I knew what I was going there to do, and I knew the risk, and I knew what was going to happen. And it was never my intention to be like, oh man, if I get hurt, I'm going to get a free home and I get a free car and all that stuff. And you guys, I hope you guys seen it. I rarely do stuff with nonprofits, and the ones that I do stuff with is because I truly believe in them and I stand behind them and I fully support them. But you don't see me going on veteran hunts all the time that are paid. Like every hunt that I've done or outing that I've done with these veterans, I pay out of my pocket because I don't want someone else to pay for it. And that's why you don't see me like on these veteran hunts, on these veteran trips, on all this stuff. There's a lot of professional wounded warriors out there, and that's all they do, right? They sit at home, they complain, because they were injured, and then they go on all these trips with all these nonprofits, and it's amazing because these nonprofits do this out of the kindness of their heart, and it's pretty cool to watch. But you have guys that take advantage of that, and because they were wounded, they play the card. They get grants, they get all this kind of stuff, and I just don't ever want to be that guy. I don't like taking anything from anybody just because I was wounded. It doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. So I've always been like that. I've always been, it's just kind of the way my parents raised me, is to everything that I have is because I've worked for it and I've earned it. It wasn't given to me. With that being said, when I first got injured, I remember being told that, you should apply for this. And this was some of the other guys that were there. They were like, dude, apply to this nonprofit. They'll build you a badass house. You won't have any mortgage, just take advantage of it. And I did not like that. When they said take advantage of it, I was like, Here I was, a 21-year-old, freshly wounded guy, single, no kids, no girlfriend, no wife, nothing. It was just me. And I was like, I don't need to take a home, especially when I've been in the hospital. And most of my friends there were married and had kids. I'm like, let them get that, get that awesome free home. It's going to benefit them more than it's going to benefit me. And I've always been that way. I want to make sure that everybody else is taken care of before me, especially when it came to that, because they were married, you know, like, hey, because they're married, you know, and I was like, I just never did it, right? I never did it. And I always put it off, and, you know, I ended up buying my house in Brownsville because I thought that's where I was going to stay forever. But little did I know that I needed to be closer to the hospital because of infections, then the amputation, and then the prosthetics. And then anytime that there's something physically wrong with me, I go to Brooke Army Medical Center and they take care of me. They've known me. I've had all 102 surgeries out of 103 there. They've all been there. So the staff, the doctors, everybody knows me. So when I was in Brownsville, I constantly found myself driving back and forward. And it's a 4-hour drive, y'all, like maybe 4.5. And so that was the dilemma, right? So then I decided to move closer. Then I met Kristen, we got married, you know, and we moved out to the hill country in Wimberley. And that was still a 2-hour drive to the hospital. So we started getting closer to the hospital. And right before we bought this house, this nonprofit hits me up, and like I said, I'm not gonna mention any names. You please don't make any speculations or anything, or try to guess in the bottom. I'm not gonna tell you guys who it was. This nonprofit hits me up, and this is, you know, after my social media is big, and, you know, all the followers on Instagram and Facebook and, you know, YouTube and everything. And they're like, hey, we've seen you online. We want to build you a house. La 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 la. And I was like, you know, I sincerely appreciate it, but I'm gonna pass. Like, I don't want special treatment just because, you know, I put my life out on social media, and I've been blessed enough to have a platform because of every single one of y'all. And, you know, even though everybody on social media, you know, they look and they see a brief period of our lives, and they think that me and my wife are super rich and have all this money and whatnot. And I'm here to tell you, we don't. Like, we bust our butts, we work hard, and, you know, the little things that we have them because we've earned them. And I'm not a millionaire. I don't have a lot of money to throw around. Anything. It's just, you know, we know how to manage our money. We, you know, the little that we make, we use it wisely. And anyway, so they reached out and they wanted to build me a house, and I respectfully declined. And then that was that. And then a couple months later, one of my buddy hits me up and he goes, hey man, I was given a house by this foundation. They're doing this ceremony thing. Can you please come? You know, and I was like, man, I can't make it. I have an engagement in the morning, but what are you guys doing for dinner? I would love to, you know, to come see and congratulate you guys. And we ended up having dinner at one of our friend's house, and I showed up, and the representative from that nonprofit was there, and she's like, oh my God, I'm a big fan, la 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 la. And I was like, a pleasure to meet you, you know, awesome work you guys do. And that was that, you know. I mean, because they've given a bunch of houses. And then she goes, how come we haven't built you one? You know, what are you waiting for? Like, let us do this for you. And I was like, look, I appreciate it. I find myself having a platform, and I don't want it to affect you guys in any way. I don't want to be exploited. I don't want to, you know, you guys have me use my social media to, like, I don't know. I just feel weird, you know, about it. And then she goes, no, we definitely don't need none of that. We don't care about that. I think you should apply. And she made some valid points. She was like, look, you just got married a couple of years ago. You know, I know you and your wife are trying to have kids. Like, think about it. Having a mortgage-free home is going to benefit you. You won't have that payment over your head, you know. And I thought about it, and I was like, man, that's a solid point. And I realized, I was like, look, I'm no longer single. Like, I'm just not thinking of me now. Like, I got a wife and, you know, possibly kids, and I got to think about them. So I was like, you know what? Cool, let's do this. This is the first time I put my my ego down, because I was like, like, stop being, that type of person that you don't want to accept help from anybody else, and then just let somebody do something for you for once. So we start the whole application stuff, right? And it's very thorough, and it goes through a lot of things, and you tell a story and whatnot. And it took about 8 or 9 months for the whole process. And so I submit it, everything gets, checked out, whatever. Now, keep in mind, these 8 or 9 months, Kristen and I had already saved some money to purchase a home. We're putting this money on the side. It wasn't a lot, but we had a little bit aside. And, we're watching all these houses, and I'm like, man, we can go buy that one. Man, we should go buy that one. Oh, I love that one. It has the property that I want. And, I'm like, no, it's okay. We're gonna get this house over here. Like, it'll be worth it. Just hold out. And and then I finally get the call, and they're like, hey man, you haven't been to talk? And I was like, yeah. We have, we've made a decision on your application. And I was like, cool, lay it on me. And all of a sudden I just hear them go quiet. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, hey, we regret to inform you that, your application has been denied. And I was like, oh, okay. Can I ask why? And, I just wanted to know. Like, it wasn't anything, I wasn't pissed off or anything. I was just like, okay, like, sure. And then, he finally starts saying all this verbiage and whatnot. And I'm just like, so what you're saying is that I'm not wounded enough? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, I'm 75% burned, 3rd and 4th degree burns. My limit to my hands, I'm limited to using my hands. I was like, I am missing, my leg below the knee, all these other things that are internally wrong with me that, I've never really shared with anybody. And so, I start naming all these things, and meanwhile, I know that, and this is not knocking someone else down. I'm just telling you, like, I was like, what the hell? They gave a house to this other veteran who was just missing a leg. Like, that's it. Like, there's no other injuries. There's none of that. And I was like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I am literally worse wounded than that guy. How am I not wounded enough? And if they would have just told me, like, hey man, like, we saw your application, you don't qualify, we don't have the needs, we don't have the means right now, blah, 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 I'd have been like, fine, it's cool. But when they said I wasn't wounded enough, that like really freaking hurt me, because I'm like, dude, like, what do you mean? Like, it rubbed me the wrong way. And then I immediately thought of the 9 months that we wasted waiting on this, and the houses that we could have bought, and those 9 months were out the window. Now, the interest rate, everything's skyrocketing. It was a mess. Everything was everywhere, and I was just like, we're not gonna be able to afford a home now. Like, Kristen and I can do this. Like, this is, oh my God, I wish they would have told me like 4 or 5 months ago. I'm like, oh crap. Now I'm like, and then, I started being upset, and I got to the point where I was gonna blast them on social media. And I took a deep breath, and I was like, look, no, this is not what we do. This is not what I do. You know what? I'm just gonna let it be. I'm just gonna let it be. And for some weird reason, I don't know if these two nonprofits talk to each other, but this other one reached out to me, and they're like, hey, Omar, we would love to build a home for you. And I was like, look, I don't want to go down this path. Like, I've already been through it last, couple of weeks ago, and I'm not ready to do this. And they're like, look, we got you. You should really think about it, la, la, la. And then I was like, you know what? Fine. Let's do this. It's pretty cool, because they asked me to go ahead and pick out the place that I wanted, the land where I wanted to build. And so Kristen and I found this place at the time, which was very reasonable. It was like 5 acres for like, 200,000 or something like that, which the area that we were looking at in Bernie was, you're pretty much stealing that land. And I was like, holy crap, here we go. And so I send them with the land that I want, and they're all like, yeah, okay, we're ready to go. Yep, we're going to do it. There's just a couple of things that we need to address before we do, we take the next step. And I said, okay, what's that? He goes, well, we know we asked you to pick out the land, but we can only pay $100,000 for land. And I said, okay, I'm willing to pay the other $100,000. And they're like, okay, perfect. And then the next thing was the SHA grant, SHA, and it's a special house adapting one. And I'm like, okay. They're like, well, we asked for that grant, so I have to give that grant to the nonprofit, and they use it. And the max that grant it's like 60,000 or something like that. So they wanted that $60,000. And I was like, well, guys, I used some of it when I was living in Brownsville because I made that house ADA compliant to me. And then they were like, oh, well, how much did you use? I was like, well, I only rebuilt the bathroom and the cabinets and this and that and the doors. So I spent like 25, maybe 30 grand. So I had like half of it. I had like already 30 grand left in there. And so they were like, okay, that's fine. We'll get back to you. I'm like, okay. So then they call me and then they're like, hey, you owe us $130,000. And, I told Kristen what was going on. I'm like, well, they said that because the SH grant is $60,000 and I've used $30,000 of it, that they need the other $30,000 from me. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Their whole slogan is we build wounded service members homes for free. And then I'm like, well, it's no longer free because I'm paying those $30,000 back from the grant that was given to me that they're taking to use to build a house, which they don't tell the public. They tell the public they're using their money 100%, and they're building these homes. And then I owed them another $100,000 for the land, which I had no idea. And then I was like, you know what, it's okay. I looked at Kristen, I was like, look, we're still gonna get an awesome house, that it'll be adaptable to me, and we're only gonna come out $130,000 out of pocket. I was like, it'll be easy to get a loan for that, and we'll pay it off. And we finally get on the phone with them, everything's going good, and then they're like, hey, how would you like to take care of this $130,000 loan, or bill that you have left? And I was like, well, I'm going to take a mortgage out on the house and then, pay it off. And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, what do you mean no? They're like, we offer mortgage-free homes to our veterans. Like, your house gonna have a mortgage. You can't take out a loan because that's considered a mortgage, to give it to us. And I'm like, where the hell do you expect me to get $130,000 from at such short time frame? Like, I don't have that kind of money. Like, I was like, we have about 15-20 grand saved up. I was like, well, that's a start. You think you can get the rest so we can get started? And I was like, here we go. So I looked at Kristen and I was like, look, I put my ego down. I tried this twice. Didn't work. Like, just wasn't meant to be, right? I think you and I should just start looking for homes on our own. Like, we should just do this, honey. Like, I don't want anything given to me. I don't want to be part of any program like that ever again. I don't want to be in that situation. I just don't care. I don't want to. And she was like, you know what? You tried. And these are all the obstacles that were presented, and these are all the things that happen. And, if that's how you feel, then I support you. And I was like, okay. And so our friend, amazing realtor here in town, found, her and Kristen found this home got a great interest rate before it even blew up like it did, like where it was. I have no idea how they pulled it off, but they did. We bought the house $30,000 under asking price, which is unheard of during this whole craziness of people buying houses from all over the country, or I shouldn't say all over the country, from California that were moving here. And couldn't be happier, you know. And so, yeah, that was that. You know, when I put out that on social media asking, you know, who knew somebody that was approved by the VA to come do some remodeling in the home for me, and everybody hitting me up, telling me, like, hit up these nonprofits, they'll build a house for you, or they'll rebuild your whole inside of your house and everything. I just felt like telling them, like, man, F those people. Like, this is what they did to me. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be a negative guy. I'm going to keep doing what my parents taught me, which is work hard for what's yours. And, you know, then there's nothing that they can take away from you. So, like, I can keep my head up high and say that no one's ever built me a house or done that for me. And, you know, I did this on my own. And I'm not taking this away from the other guys who were giving a free home. That's awesome. I'm happy for them. And, you know, they don't have a mortgage, which is freaking awesome. But, you know, I just kind of looked at it at that. I was like, you know what, this might be a blessing in disguise. Like, maybe this is how we're supposed to do it. This is what God has in his plans for us. And I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to question him or anything. I'm just going to keep moving forward and doing what we're doing. And then, you know, we bought this amazing home, like I said. We couldn't be happier. We're slowly renovating it because it is about 20 some years old. It has a lot of things that needs to be fixed. And, you know, we're saving our pennies and we're doing, you know, projects at a time and just knocking it out. And so, yeah, that's literally what happened. I was told I wasn't wounded enough. And then the other nonprofit was asking for $130,000 so they can build this house for me. And, you know, and then advertising that it was a mortgage-free home that they paid 100% for. And then I had to go, I had to commit to doing, I believe it was 4 or 5 events a year that I had to go, you know, fundraising and all that stuff for them. And they would use my likeliness or my pictures and stuff for their website and all this stuff and whatnot. And, you know, kind of like a dog and pony show. And then I just said, you know, I'm glad it didn't happen. I really am. I'm glad that things turned out the way that they turned out. And, you know, it is what it is. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to say who they are. I'm not going to bash them. I'm not going to give any hints and all that. Like, they're still out there building homes for guys. They're, you know, doing great things. But I feel like sometimes the transparency is not there. They're not being transparent of, you know, that they're asking these guys for that kind of grant, or that they're only picking, you know, certain guy. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, to everybody that's been hitting me up to hit up these nonprofits to get a house built, I'm not going to because of what I just explained to you guys. So yeah, you know, sometimes it's not in your cards, and that's fine. You know, life goes on. And like I said, honestly, Kristen and I are extremely happy with this home. We're very, very, very blessed. You know, we have about an acre here, a little bit over an acre, I think. I'm not sure. And our house is amazing. Like, we love it. We feel so comfortable here. The neighbors, all our neighborhood, everybody here has just been so welcoming. They're awesome. They're great. Like, people here are super nice. We couldn't be happier. Like, could not be happier. So, you know, I think that was what was meant to be. I think God was like, nah, that's not for you guys. I'm going to put you guys over here and watch. You're going to be really happy. And I'm glad, you know, I'm glad things happen the way that they happen. And it is what it is. But yeah, is that a rant or is that a story? I'm not sure. Whatever. I don't know. Take it as you want to take it. But that's the story for Wednesday, for this one. But yeah, again, do research if you're donating towards these nonprofits. If you're doing, you know, if you're volunteering your time, whatever the case is, just make sure you know you do your due diligence and make sure you know where everything's going and who's getting what and all that good stuff, and just keep doing what you're doing. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because I think I've kept my mouth quiet for over a year or something, and it's always, I always get hit up by people who are like, go do this with this nonprofit, and I'm like, sure. I always say very polite because, again, I don't want to spread any negativity on this channel. It's always positive. We keep it pushing forward, and we're trying to share positivity and encourage you guys to go out there and make things happen and whatnot. And if there's ever a helping hand being offered to you, take it. There's nothing wrong with that. Not at all. I'm not sitting here and telling you guys that you shouldn't get help from others. 100% you should, because that's what life's about. We can't do everything on our own, and we got to realize that. Like, I know when I'm having a rough day and I can't do it by myself, I can rely on my wife. We have conversations, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm not there today. I don't know what's going on, and she's usually really good about helping me understand things and talk about it. And if not, if she's not around, I always pick up the phone. I call a battle buddy, somebody that was there on the deployment that I can talk to and share my thoughts with and tell them like what I'm going through, and usually helps a lot. And if not, I just call some of my closest friends that I go hunting with, that we spend a lot of time together, and I just confide in them and I talk, and I'm like, hey man, like this is what I'm struggling with, and they usually help me a lot too. So I'm not telling you here that having a helping hand given to you is a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you guys a little story of what happened to me. But if you do need help, you should reach out. You should ask for it. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you a weaker person to ask for help. Not at all. I've said it once and I'll say it a million times. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Okay? Take that into consideration. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week. Until then, crispy on.